The Geek Speak Show is produced and distributed by 22 Creations Multimedia, LLC.
Welcome to one of the longest-running geek culture podcasts.
What you talking about?
Of course, I'm talking about the Geek Speak Show.
You're still talking.
Henry San Miguel has been speaking geek since 2010.
Damn!
And he ain't shutting up anytime soon.
I'm sorry.
Now he has Emily Mata as the new co-host. And the nerdy Navajo, Shanclen, as well.
Oh, not everybody.
This is where you'll hear interviews with all the movers and shakers in geek culture, as well as from up-and-coming talent that you won't hear anywhere else. Ready? This is the Geek Speak Show with Henry San Miguel and Emily Mata.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Geek Speak Show. You know, we're not going to be doing a regular episode this week because, well, one, some of us are still away from the Memorial Day weekend. Others are getting ready to end the school semester, or you just graduated. And me? I was. Let me correct that. I was on standby in case I needed to evacuate the Geek Speak studios. You probably heard by now there was a chemical leak in Orange County, and there was also a threat of an explosion, a possible explosion. Yeah, who had that on their 2026 bingo card? Not us over here in Orange County now. As of this recording on Wednesday, we got in Anaheim at least, we got the all clear, no more explosion. It's still not, I don't think, I didn't check before I started recording. I don't think it's still ongoing, so it seems to be under control. But because of all that activity, there were also fires, 2 fires actually, in Southern California. And of course, an earthquake thrown in Malibu, of all places, just because, why not? We didn't have enough with everything else. So because of all of that activity, I told Emily and Shanclen, let's just take a moment, breathe, relax, and we'll reconvene next week and do another Geek Speak episode. And they're fine with that. They haven't dealt with that. Shanclen actually is safe. He's in Arizona. So is Emily. Not in Arizona. I mean, she's safe. She's pretty far away from the affected area. And even if the thing, and thank God it didn't, but if it had exploded, it could have potentially gotten over there where she is. She's in the Inland Empire. It's been very windy, so maybe it would have carried it, but pretty much she's pretty safe in that area. She did check in when she heard the news and asked me how I was doing, but because of all of that, I just told them, let's just not do an episode, and we'll do it next week. However, you are going to hear an episode, not a new one, but an episode. I'm going to play a couple of interviews from seasons past of the Geek Speak Show. The first one, when is this from? 2016, back in season 7 of the show. At that time, I was still in San Francisco. I'd found an awesome place to go for summer. Most people, when it's summer, right now, in fact, you're probably thinking, let's go to summer camp, or let me send the kids to summer camp. Well, how about you go, or you send your kids, or even better, all of you together go to Lightsaber Fencing Camp. Yeah, you heard me. Lightsaber Fencing Camp. Yeah, it was a thing. And yes, they were on the show. And this is what that sounded like.
This old-time radio program was originally aired live, long before the advent of high fidelity. As a result, you may detect an occasional surface noise or volume drop due to transmission problems so common to old radio. We hope, however, that any variance in audio quality will not take away from your pleasure in listening to this, one of the all-time favorite shows.
Hi, I'm Chris Hardwick from Things, and you're listening to the Geek Speak Show.
How about we stick with Star Wars? Now, like I mentioned at the top of the show, this week, a lot of you are graduating. Congratulations if you are. It's your first step into a larger world, the real world. So congratulations, best of luck on that. For some of us who have graduated a long time ago, not in the galaxy far, far away in this one, who graduated a long time ago, our kids are probably going to graduate or finish school this week, or if they haven't already. And we're probably thinking, we love them and everything, but we're probably thinking, where can I take them to release all that energy? Because, we like being around them, like I said, but sometimes you got to take them out to a park or just send them to a summer camp. That's the usual, summer camp. But I just discovered a new one. It's a fencing camp. Yeah, I know that sounds cool in itself. But then I got a flyer here that says they have a lightsaber fencing camp. You heard me correctly. Lightsaber Fencing Camp. You can find out more at lightsaberfencingcamp.com. On to talk about it, though, before you go there, is Mike Peterson. Mike Peterson is the Master Coach and Jedi Knight, and he will be leading these classes. Mike, welcome to the Geek Speak Show.
Hey, well, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So the first question I got to start with is what gave you the idea? Because you guys have been around for a while. The Golden Gate Fencing Center. You've been around for a while, correct?
Yep. Correct.
Yeah. So and this
1997.
And this is the first time you do a lightsaber fencing camp?
It is.
And what made you say,
ahead,
well, we gotta do lightsabers now?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, the genesis of all this basically came about because I don't know one kid, be it a boy or a girl, who hasn't at some point in their life picked up a stick and challenged a friend to a duel, right? And traditionally, we're a fencing club, so we do it with the traditional Olympic-style fencing swords. And now, once we discovered that there are these fantastic lightsabers out there, we thought, well, why not marry these two ideas? Because everybody loves Star Wars, everybody loves lightsaber battles, and the kids absolutely go crazy over it. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to combine those two styles, Olympic style fencing and lightsaber style fencing or fighting, and run a summer camp that just should be outrageously fun.
And will you be using the fencing techniques and the rules, or is this going to be more of a fun class?
It'll be definitely be a fun class. We will have both sides of the fighting styles available. So some kids will be working on the fencing side of things while other kids are working on their lightsaber techniques. And then we'll flip those groups around, and then the kids that were working on their fencing will work on their lightsaber techniques. The ultimate goal is to teach all the basic fundamentals of both styles of fighting and have the kids have a wonderful time. Combining that with some really challenging team group missions, like diffusing a nuclear reactor, so that the kids are going to be put together in groups. They're going to have their Star Wars names and their characters and their lightsabers, and they're going to have to figure out how to work together and defuse a nuclear reactor, how to master the laser whip and move like a ninja, stuff like that. So it's a lot of group activities and a lot of basic fundamental techniques, all aimed at delivering this idea of this amazing, cool world of lightsaber and fencing coming together.
Okay, I know I said at the top that this is for the kids and we're looking for someone to send them, but I'm pretty sure the big kids, we were saying, hey, I want to go too. So is there an age limit for who can go?
Yeah, there is. We're trying to keep it in between the ages of 7 and 15.
Okay.
So, we're looking at that ages where they're still able to put their imaginary hat on and imagine themselves out there on the floor as an Olympic fencer or a musketeer or a Jedi Knight.
Yeah, honestly, Mike, for this audience, the Geek Speak audience, I think that never goes away. I mean, that's why we love Star Wars.
I would think so. I would think so. And actually, to be honest, I after delving into this whole idea of lightsaber combat, there's a whole world out there full of lightsaber geeks, and they are just amazing. They're wonderful.
Yeah. Now, another thinking it. I'm going to ask it for the parents. When they drop off the kid, can they stay and watch if they want to?
Oh, absolutely, you bet. Yeah, parents are always welcome to stay and watch. We have a seating area for the parents so they can just kind of hang out. And but if I catch them sneaking onto the floor, I'm going to have to ask them to come off. You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah, I want to say, kind of tongue in cheek, I want to say, if they feel like going on there, will you not let them on?
That's right.
So besides yourself, who's going to be instructing the class?
So I'll be the lead instructor, and I have been working with my teenage instructors. So we hire teenage fencers over the age of 16 to come in, and they have been doing this with us in our traditional fencing camp for about 4 or 5 years, and this year we're adding in that lightsaber stuff. So they have been working diligently to master the techniques along with me, and they will be the primary counselors. And the idea is to have one counselor for every 6 kids, and we are going to take a maximum of about 24 kids just because of space issues on the floor. Because swinging those lightsabers can actually, you need a lot of space.
Yeah, we know that from all of us swinging our broomsticks and their actual lightsabers over here.
Exactly.
Now, on the flyer that I saw, it said it has 4 different camps. Can you sign up for all of them, or is it for? How do you sign up for those different camps?
Sure. Well, there are 5 basic sessions, 3 in June and 2 in August. And to sign up, you can go right to our website, which is lightsaberfencingcamp.com. And you'll be able to just follow the links and hit the registration page and choose your camp that you want to sign up for. There are morning sessions, afternoon sessions, or a full day session. So some kids, they have they can only come to camp for a half day, and that's fine, because what we're going to do is the morning session will be put together into groups, and they will do their tasks and learn their moves and practice their Jedi Knight fight scenes. And then the afternoon group will come in and will be put into new groups, and they will have a different set of tasks and different set of actions to learn. So the idea is that no matter if you're a half-day camper or a full-day camper, you get a unique experience every single time you're out on the floor.
Yeah, it sounds cool. Now, the other question is, do they bring their own lightsaber, or do you guys provide it, or how is that going to work?
No, we will provide the lightsabers. We have lightsabers in stock, and I'm looking at them right now.
Okay.
They are pretty awesome, multicolored, beautiful, real aluminum hilts, and very, very durable. They're stunt combat sabers, so the kids will be able to make contact with each other's blades, and we won't have to worry about actually, breaking a blade or anything like that.
Okay.
So it's really quite cool.
Yeah. So because if it makes contact with it, because it'll happen if I accidentally hit a hand or something.
Yep.
I'm assuming it's not going to hurt that much.
No, not at all. Because what we're going to do is the whole idea of learning the moves is you practice basic techniques. So there's this idea called a defensive box, and each defensive box has different hand positions to block a certain style of cut, because lightsaber fighting is actually really stylized and really honor-bound by the Jedi code. So the way that you make your cuts and the way that you make your defenses are very prescribed. And when you first start out doing them, we start out working at about 25 to 30% speed, and the fastest we'll ever get up to is maybe half speed to three-quarter speed, because what you're working on is the illusion of danger rather than actual danger. And so that's where the ideas of stage combat and the ideas of safety and space and how the paths of the blade move versus the arc of the blade come together. And that's where our counselors and myself will work with the kids to really make certain that we will have them practice at a safe speed until they master those basic concepts. And then we start elevating the speed just a little bit, because we include things like jumps and spins and ducks, all that kind of stuff as well.
I wish I was 30 years younger. Where was this when I was a kid?
Well, exactly. I mean, I remember going to the Star Wars premiere,
Yeah.
And it was just fabulous, And I was like, oh, that's so cool. I want to do this. Of course, I think I probably went out and found a stick and beat my friend up over the
Yeah, I think that's what we all did, and we have the lumps to show for it.
But it's still there, and the attraction of that those lightsabers are still there. It's amazing.
Yeah, obviously the Star Wars fans, which is just about everybody. You can throw a stone.
Yep.
You hit a few. You hit 300 or 400 or 500 Star Wars fans. But who do you think is going to sign up? Obviously, it's Star Wars fans, like I said. But could it be also just fencing fans?
I think so. I think it's a combination. Some of them are kids from our center who are like, oh, I'm so into this lightsaber scene, and I'm going to learn to do this. And of course, they've been looking at the lightsabers that we have here and kind of drooling and just can't. They can't wait to get into the into the camps. But I think it's a combination. I think there are people out there who really like the fencing side of things. Because the fencing side of things is actually pretty cool. We use electronic scoring devices, so they're all hooked up to the electronic scoring system, and they're wearing the full protective gear. So that is also kind of attractive to a lot of kids and a lot of people because, like I said at the very beginning, I don't know any kid who hasn't picked up a stick and challenged their friend to a duel at some point in their childhood. It's like so common. And I ask that question a lot when I do these camps, and almost universally, every kid raises their hand. Oh, yeah, for sure, I've done that,
Well, my hand is up, too, because that was me also when I was a kid.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
and
anyway, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, is there still space, or is it pretty full up?
There's absolutely still space, yep. Each one of the sessions have space. The first 2 sessions are coming up quick. So if people are interested, they can either contact us here at Golden Gate Fencing Center, or they can go right to that website, lightsaberfencingcamp.com.
Yeah, and the Golden Gate Fencing Center is in San Francisco on 2419 Harrison Street. And again, the lightsaberfencingcamp.com is the online. And I'll have a link in the description for this podcast. So you obviously are going to have a big hit on your hands. Like you said, this is the first time you do it. Have you given any thought? I know you haven't gone through this one yet, but have you given any thought to having it for the bigger kids?
Actually, I have. We've had a couple people ask us, are you going to do an adult class? And we run an adult program here for the sport of fencing, and the adults are like, oh, that's so cool. Let's learn this.
Yeah. Because those are the bigger kids I had in mind, actually.
I think in the fall we will probably add in an adult class that they could, come in with their friends and pick up some lightsaber dueling techniques and practice a little bit in the evening.
Okay, so I'll definitely be looking forward to that one. Now,
excellent.
I know you call yourself the Jedi Knight, but if one of the kids wants to go over to the dark side, would that be okay with you?
That's okay. There's a Sith code of conduct. We don't mind if there's some evil kind of dark side characters in the gym. It makes for a good tension, on the floor. And some kids just love that Sith side, so that's okay with us.
Yeah, that still is me. I've always liked the dark side. So yeah, there is a code of conduct, and that's power, unlimited power.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, so it's Mike Peterson. He's the master coach and Jedi Knight. He's at the Golden Gate Fencing Center. Lightsaberfencingcamp.com to sign up and get all the information you need. There's 5 camps starting June 6th, so you still got a little bit of time to sign up. Mike, thanks a lot. And like I said, you got a great hit here, and you're welcome back anytime.
Hey, thank you very much, and thanks for having me on the show.
That was from back in 2016, and I'm not sure if it's still around. I looked it up, and I found the website, but it looks like there haven't been any updates in quite a while, actually, quite a few years. So, like I said, I don't know if it's still there in San Francisco or not. I don't live there, so I can't go and check. So because of that, I didn't add a link to the show description because, I didn't want you to click on it and it takes you somewhere else. Then we got a problem, especially if you're at work, and why are you on those kind of websites? It could have become a whole thing, is what I'm saying. So I'm not sure if it's still there or not, so I didn't put up any links. However, closer to the show's new home, over here in Buena Park, there is a Lightspeed Saber Academy. They are open, and they're always accepting new Padawans. If you'd like to see what they're all about, well, you can join us this fall at the Geek Speak Expo. He knew that was coming. They're going to be there, and they're going to be on a panel about their history, what they're about. But the main attraction is going to be a lightsaber fencing match. And not just any lightsaber fencing match. There will be 2 teams. The two franchises that have the word Star in the name will square off at the Geek Speak Expo as we celebrate Star Trek's 60th anniversary, and we start an early celebration of Star Wars' 50th anniversary next year. So there's going to be a lightsaber fencing demo between those two teams. One team representing the Star Wars fandom, the other the Star Trek fandom. It's just for fun. I've always said it shouldn't be a versus between these two franchises, but those of you that are going to be joining us this fall at the Geek Speak Expo, cheer them on. Bring signs, wear t-shirts, come in cosplay if you want. I keep saying this should be, think of it like, what's that called? The jousting matches at the Ren fairs. And it will be just like that, except not jousting. It's going to be with lightsabers. I mean, it's the Geek Speak show. This audience loves lightsabers. Find out more and get your badges at thegeekspeakshow.com. I'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end of this episode also. But before we get to the end, let me give you one more replay. This time, we're going to go back to the show's very first season when we were live 5 days a week, and I think this is the third or fourth episode back then. One of our early guests was Jeph Loeb, a name quite well known to most everybody listening to me right now. Now, in this interview you're about to hear, Jeph had just been named head of Marvel TV, and he came on to talk all about it. Now, you're going to hear him talk about what Marvel had done as far as animation and other TV, which wasn't much at that time, and what his plans were for Marvel TV at that time. So, from 2010 and season 1 of the Geek Speak show, here is Jeph Loeb.
TalkZone.com.
So today we figured it's my show. I get to do what I want to do today. Romo gets to do what he grew up reading.
That's true.
We're going to do a lot of comic books, but first, before we do that, comic books get turned into movies, now also into TV shows.
Oh, that's cool. Yes.
And there's one person who is in charge of that.
Who?
We're going to talk to him in about 2-3 seconds. But let me go back a little bit with Romo. When you guys were growing up in Angels, you probably watched them too.
Mm-hmm.
What Marvel cartoons do you remember when you were growing up?
Spider-Man.
Yeah, most likely
X-Men.
Spider-Man.
Well, wait,
The
which
Avengers.
Spider-Man? The original, the 60s one, or the later one?
Both.
Both?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, I like the 60s one better myself.
Oh, really? I actually like the 90s version.
But
they're
to
all
me,
good.
Yeah,
I mean,
to me
depends on
back
what you grew
then,
up.
the 60s one was like watching the comic book coming to life in front of me.
Oh, cool.
Peter Parker looked like Peter Parker. Even sounded like, I know it's a comic book, you can't really hear it, but what I thought he would sound like sounded exactly like the voice actor that we heard on the cartoon.
That's cool.
So let's forward to today. This generation is going to get some new cartoons, some new shows, and the person in charge of that is on the phone with us. His name is, you all know him, Jeph Loeb. Jeph, you there?
How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks a lot for coming on the show, first of all.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So let's first let me ask you, when did Marvel decide that we need a TV division, and especially when it decided to put you at the head?
Well, they both sort of happened at the same time, and I'll just give you sort of a quick, brief history of how we got to where we are. A lot of people know Marvel through its animation. You guys were just talking about the Spider-Man show. The one of the 60s, the one of the 90s, one of everyone's favorites is the X-Men from the 90s. But remarkably enough, those shows were not really produced by Marvel. They were shows that were produced by other people that Marvel had some input on, but they're not really our own home game. And so about 2 years ago, this was obviously before my time, but I was working over in publishing, they decided to put a toe in the water, and that the first one that they went after is a show that skews a little younger, called Superhero Squad, that's on Cartoon Network. But then the real big jump was to decide to get in and do the Avengers. The Avengers is going to be on Disney XD, which is their what we like to refer to as the brother channel to the Disney Channel. And it premieres on October 20th at 8:30 at night. And it's absolutely insanely great. And it's the Avengers that you guys know. It's the hardcore group of Cap and Thor and Iron Man and Hulk, going up against just the biggest threats that you can imagine. We showed the pilot episodes in San Diego and up in Toronto. We'll be showing them again in a couple of weeks at the New York Comic-Con. And people have just been going insane, tearing up seats, cheering, laughing, doing everything that they're supposed to do, which is incredibly rewarding. And then the second show that we'll be doing, that we just recently announced, is Ultimate Spider-Man. So you guys were talking about Spider-Man. This will really be the first time that sort of the in-house guys are actually going to be putting together a show. And so when you talk about something that's going to look like a Marvel show, and you talk about that it should sound like Peter Parker, I completely get what you're saying. Yeah. That's the thing that's got us super excited about it. And what we have announced and what we can talk about is that Paul Dini, who's won Emmys and comes to us from Batman Animated and never had worked in the Marvel Universe before, just leapt at this opportunity to write the pilots and be one of the creative people on the show. The Men of Action guys, Joe Kelly, Joe Casey, Duncan Rouleau, and Steve Siegel, obviously, names that we all know from comic books, but also, the guys that created Ben 10 and created Generator Rex, two big hit shows, are the story editors and writers and are dealing with the sort of the day-to-day of working on the show. And then we're extremely lucky also to bring in, the person who, in many ways, reinvented Spider-Man for a new generation, and that's Brian Michael Bendis, who's come on as a creative consultant. And we just had this great, big, huge writer summit literally earlier in the week, where we started talking about the whole first season, and it was incredibly exciting. I mean, one of the fun parts about my job is that I get to work with these guys, a lot of whom I know from the publishing side, but now we're working in a whole brand new field where we can actually bring these stories, for want of a better explanation, to life. And so it's just great fun on that side. So that's a little bit of the history, and I did get ahead of myself and started talking about animation. But so basically, when animation started and it felt like it was really going in a good, positive place, we all started talking about the possibility of there being Marvel live action television. And, one thing that I really do give credit to Marvel about is that, when they do something, they take their time in order to get it right. And it's what was the best way for us to get into live action television. And when you look at what Marvel accomplished with Marvel Studios, in that, there had been Spider-Man, and that was being made over at Sony, and the X-Men movies are made over at Fox, and, how could we make something that was our own? And so, they created the studio, and Kevin Feige just doing an awesome job over there, and, to come out of the box and to make Iron Man as the first Marvel movie, you can really see how high the bar was set for us, if we were going to do something in live action television. And then, while we were all looking around to see what was the best way of doing that, then the acquisition happened. Disney then bought Marvel. And what that provided for this dream of someday doing live action television suddenly became a reality, like literally overnight. Because Disney, so people know, owns ABC and owns ABC Family and owns ESPN. And so immediately there are all these networks that you could then create shows for and put them on the air, which is a really big deal in television. You just don't want to be making stuff that doesn't get on the air. And so having that relationship, which has been terrific, was the first step. And then once that happened, Marvel started looking around to see, okay, well, we need somebody on our side who's going to, interface and partner with ABC in order to make these television shows and to pick the right properties and get the right producers and writers and showrunners and you know, all the little details that go into making a television show. And it was one of those rare opportunities that I was incredibly honored to be offered. And it really grew out of, I've had obviously a long relationship with them on the publishing side, you know, writing everything from the X-Men to the Hulk. But I always had this other career that was going on simultaneously, whether it was making movies like Teen Wolf or Commando or, you know, getting into television and working on, you know, just from my point of view, the best in the genre kind of shows, you know, going from Smallville to Lost to Heroes. You know, it really was, you know, 8 years and hundreds of television shows of being able to really learn that craft of what's the best way to tell these stories, not only from a creative point of view, but also from a production point of view. And so I've always had sort of the two sides of my brain. One side was writing comic books, the other side was working in television, and along came this opportunity, and it wasn't at some small little operation. It was Marvel coming and saying, here's an opportunity for you to be able to take both sides, to take your peanut butter and your jelly and put them together, and be able to make, hopefully, television that has the same kind of spirit and humor and integrity that the worldwide audience and the fans have come to know from Marvel Comics. And that's really the challenge. And it's something that, it's only been 3 months. But, you know, we've got just a great team and we're out there, you know, getting ready to go.
Right. And most of these shows that you mentioned, they're all based on...
answer to your question.
No, that's okay. I was going to say the shows that you mentioned, they're based on really iconic characters, like you said, the world knows and loves. As the team that's putting them together for the next generation, so to speak, do you guys, how do you balance between keeping us, the original fan base, happy and keeping and building the next generation?
Well, again, that's kind of the challenge, but also we're super lucky in that if you liked Iron Man, then you know where we're headed. And what I mean by that is that I think as geeks, to quote your show and to consider myself a geek, you know, look, I like Iron Man. I think it's a terrific character. But you'd be kind of hard-pressed, other than maybe Demon in the Bottle and, you know, some aspects of Armor Wars, and I'm sure that the listeners right now are banging their head. If you're a real Iron Man fan, you're probably banging your head against the wall going, that's not true. There are other great Iron Man stories. Maybe so. I think right now what Matt Fraction is doing is awesome. But when they were set out to make this movie 5 years ago, it was a challenge. What was the best way to present Iron Man? Because it wasn't like you could say, like with the Avengers, oh my God, there's Kree-Skrull War, there's the Korvac saga, there's the origin stories, if you're from the new group, there's Disassembled, there's Secret Wars, there's Civil War. I mean, there's so many stories that you can point to. Iron Man, not so much. And yet, to give credit where credit's due, Kevin and that group really came up with a terrific take that was true to the fan base and also sold it to the worldwide audience in a major, major way. That's our challenge. Our challenge is to find those properties that work on both levels, work for the comic fan base, but also work for everybody who is starting to get to know this world. And also, we're helped by the fact that the movies are as good as they are. And that they continue to come out and kind of spread the gospel, so that even just simple stuff that you like to talk about, which is what's the world? Like, does everybody know that they're superpowered people? Do they, and if they do, how do they react to them? what's great is that we're seeing so many of these kinds of films that to the average moviegoer and then ultimately to the people that watch television, more and more people are accepting the fact that there are guys that put on armor. There are, people that can change into a giant green monster, that there is a teenage kid who can, spin webs and catches thieves just like flies, that you're not trying to explain an entirely new world to somebody all the time. And that'll help us out enormously in terms of being able to get our stories out to the widest audience possible.
And again, we're talking to Jeph Loeb. He's the Executive Vice President and Head of Television for Marvel Television. We're going to take a little break. When we come back, we'll get more into the shows and see if we can get a little preview of what's coming up in the world of Marvel. Before we do that, we'll do the Buzz Report, come back, and continue the conversation with Jeph Loeb.
Actually, you won't hear it. Well, you can. You just have to go to the archive section and listen to the full episode. It's actually a pretty interesting interview, as Jeph actually did get into the plans he had for Marvel TV, including, you'll hear him mention, a S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show, which we know did happen. He also mentioned a sequel to, well, he didn't call it that, but what we know as X-Men 97, which we now know, did happen, but it didn't come until long after Jeph was no longer head of Marvel TV. And he also mentioned the idea for a Doctor Strange show, which, of course, didn't happen because instead, Doctor Strange became a major part of the MCU. And he mentioned some other things that they haven't happened yet, ? I don't know if they will or not, but it's pretty interesting because he was pretty forthcoming. You know how secretive Marvel is all these years. Jeph Loeb actually shared a few things that did happen, like those that I mentioned, and some that, well, in his tenure didn't happen, but doesn't mean it won't anytime soon. Now, I got to say, yeah, a little biased because he's a friend. Jeph Loeb had a pretty good run as was head of Marvel TV, in my opinion, at least. And he set the foundation for what has come and what is still to come, like I said, for Marvel's current and new head of TV and now also Marvel Comics, Brad Winderbaum and his team. So we will watch their career and what they've done with great interest, of course. And that is the episode for this week. A little taste of what the Geek Speak Show has been, what it's been about, really, all of these years, almost 16 years. And, let me wrap up with this final thing. Going through a lot of the past episodes to find these two clips I just played for you, it also reminded me why this show, the Geek Speak Show, has always stood out from other podcasts, from quote-unquote typical podcasts. I didn't, and to this day I still don't, I never specialized in, I guess I'll say, sensationalism or trends, whatever's cool at the moment. I'm not talking about for example, I'm not talking about Spider-Noir on this episode and saying it's the greatest Spider-Man show I've ever seen. I could. You all know Spider-Man is my favorite. But I'm not saying that. Because if I was like the other podcast, I would say that. Then I'd turn around and post on social media about how much I hated it because I realized that most of you didn't like it. Now, it's just an example. It hasn't been released. Spider-Noir hasn't been released as I'm recording this. It comes out tonight on Amazon. Just giving an example of why this show, why the Geek Speak Show has always stood out from other shows, other podcasts. Now, is the Geek Speak Show for everybody? No. Most geeks today prefer trends and what's cool at the moment until the next thing. And then the next thing that's cool. And the thing after that in the next hour that's cool. And that's fine. But next time I hear you all complain about original stories, there's too many sequels and reboots, I'm going to say, shut up, because there are original stories and characters not owned by DC or Marvel or Image or Star Wars or Star Trek or any other existing franchises. And here's the best part. You'll hear about them right here on the Geek Speak Show. So come on back next week and you'll hear exactly what I'm talking about.
While you wait for the next episode, follow the show on Instagram at Geeksy. You can watch event coverage on the show's YouTube channel, Geek Speak Videos, and also on TikTok at The Geek Speak Show. Learn more about the show's upcoming live event, the Geek Speak Expo, at the official website, thegeekspeakshow.com. The Geek Speak Show will return in Avengers Doomsday. No, actually, they won't. They'll be back next week to speak more geek.
The Geek Speak Show was produced and distributed by 22 Creations Multimedia, LLC.